Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Abundology podcast. I'm Renee Spears, and if you listen to my weekly energy update podcast, you've heard me mention that the last 3 months of 2025 are all about authenticity. So, 2025 is a 9 year in numerology, and it's the end of a 9 year cycle. So, next year, 2026, is the start of the next 9 year cycle, and the cycle we're entering is huge, full of transformation and change on both a collective and a personal level. So, as we wrap up this 9 year cycle, the universe is asking us to release anything that isn't truly us, like the roles, the identities that we've outgrown, the versions of ourselves that we pretended to be. And authenticity is how we align with the energy of what's coming next. It's how we prepare for the expansion that 2026 is bringing. So today we're going to talk about what it really means to live authentically, like how to stay true to yourself, even when it feels uncomfortable. And when I thought about this topic, the first person that popped into my head was my friend Alina Nikishina. So, Alina is a transformational coach and a licensed hypnotherapist who specializes in subconscious change. So, she helps conscious leaders and creative souls tap into more flow and self trust and well being so they can create the success and impact that they're meant for. And her specialty is core transformation, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. And that's a gentle, powerful process that helps you shift your thoughts, your feelings, and your patterns that no longer serve you. So, Alina, thank you so much for being here and sharing
Oh,
your wisdom with us.
thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Well, we might as well just jump right in. Authenticity is such a buzzword these days.
Yeah,
How would you describe what it means to be authentic?
that's a great question.
I
I've been
know, isn't it?
contemplating this because for me, I contemplate about how we arrive into this world, right, as humans and who we are as babies before we've had the chance to really learn what's good and bad, what's right and wrong, what, this means and what that means, right? We put a lot of meaning onto things. And we usually tie it to something like that's good or bad or that's right and wrong. And all these things, right? So depending on how we grew up, and I grew up in Russia until age 9, and then I started learning about all this subconscious stuff, and I'm like, oh wow, that's what dictated my foundation for who I, became as a human, as an adult. That's what dictated my belief systems and therefore my actions, like who I, started being in the world. And for a long time, it was unconscious, as in, like, I was just living life, right? Some people say living life on autopilot, kind of like, well, what do you mean? That's just who I am. Uh, What do you mean? That's not how that is, right? And
Yeah.
so I guess authenticity to me at this point is becoming limitless. Um,
Ooh, that's
and
good.
and kind of expanding our perspective around what we think is real or true.
Well, and then when we're younger, we just kind of follow the pack or, follow what we've been taught, the society, whatever that is. And I think we maybe hit a certain age when we're like, wait a second, this isn't
Right.
me. I don't care about this. I know there was a point when I was like in my mid 50s and I had the big house and the fancy car and the business and all of this and, the purses, all that. And it's like, I don't even give a shit about this stuff. That's no meaning to me. So I
Yeah.
think that we hit a point where we realize that the life we're living doesn't fit us.
Mm.
Hmm.
Right, like maybe we've just been living a certain way because it's become a habit or it just feels comfortable. Like even though there's maybe some parts of ourselves that are like, maybe this doesn't really fit anymore. We're still kind of just living out of habit. It's like, oh, well, this is comfortable because if I have to change, then that means I gotta talk to my spouse, have an uncomfortable conversation, or I gotta find a new job and that's uncertain, right? Because the economy sucks right now, and how am I going to do that? It's like there's a lot of I've found for me harmonizing the external reality, like the systems that we live in, and how other people and systems impact us, our lives as humans, and also like our innate spiritual nature, our limitless spiritual nature. So it's almost like an interesting dynamic of um, Earth, 3D Earth being limited or a perception of limited, and I guess what the truth, capital T truth, could be of true limitlessness within that we get to create through becoming awake and aware of our consciousness and the ability to do so. So, like, yeah, really interesting.
Yeah, and I like what you said earlier about so often that we're living on autopilot.
Yeah.
And, so autopilot and then to awakening. So I think that's kind of the shift that happens.
Autopilot
Mhm.
to awakening. I like that.
That'd be a good book, Autopilot to
Right?
Awakening. Yeah. And it
Indeed.
can also feel so vulnerable living like that because we're exposing these parts that we usually hide. And I
Hmm.
really think it comes down to like being brave enough to show up as your true self, to let people see who you really are when you're not perfect or you don't have a
Yeah.
filter, or all of that, which can be a little scary.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing that I mean, I'm somewhat early into my journey of subconscious change. Like I really only started doing this 6 years ago. I really started to delve into it pretty deeply. And but currently where I am on my journey with that is like just having a lot of compassion for our behaviors and how we basically function in the world, because it's not like we it's not like we consciously try, in my opinion. Like I don't wake up and go, okay, I'm gonna be scared today, or I'm gonna play small today, or I'm gonna be a jerk to my kids, or I don't have kids, but I'm gonna be a a
Yeah,
jerk to that guy who cuts me off in traffic or whatever. That's not something that we intend to do. It just kind of happens automatically. And that is because of what we've learned, the programs that basically we've installed just through living life as kids, right? We were influenced by school, influenced by maybe religion or our caretakers. Basically, we took on beliefs of other people, which now dictate our feelings and our behaviors and actions. So just having a lot of compassion for why maybe it's not so easy to just go consciously, well, yeah, I don't need to be scared. Because
right.
that's where I got to, Renee. Like because I started doing a bunch of coaching, and that was the first thing that my coaches would tell me. They're like, yeah, but that's not true, right? Like I would say something like, because I used to have pretty, let's say, pretty low self-worth when it came to starting my own business, and I was just really undervaluing myself. I was saying things like, I used to have a story that was like, I have nothing of value to offer in the world. And as I was saying that, I usually wouldn't say it very much out loud to people because right away I'd get some kind of comment back like, that's not true, girl. You good. Like, you're
Yep.
amazing. Because I'm like, okay, I appreciate that. Thank you for the kind words. And also, it's kind of like receiving a compliment, but you really don't feel that way inside. And so it's hard for you to even acknowledge and receive. So, um, anyway, I started to become really self-aware, and at some point, when people were like, yeah, but you can just change how you feel. I'm like, I can't just change how I feel. I've tried. Like, I've tried affirmations. I've tried, you know, picturing myself as someone who's confident and charismatic or whatever, someone who's full of self-worth and self-love. And it didn't work. So, um, I got to that point where it's like, okay, I'm now self-aware. I now understand that I have these beliefs and things like that, but it's really hard to change. So I guess this is a long-winded way of just saying I have a lot of compassion that it's not just so easy when people say, well, you could just change how you feel or change how you behave. Um, it's not always that easy.
It isn't all that easy. And if we think about, some of the beliefs that we've had, true or not true, for 50 years, I don't know. And our whole life has been shaped around those beliefs.
Yeah.
Um, it's not easy to just be like, okay, I don't believe that anymore. I'm going to be authentic today. I'm going to be my true self. Yeah, I really do wish it was that easy.
Right.
Hmm.
Well, it
Yeah.
can become easier from what I've learned, but I didn't have the tools at the time because I was so busy trying to figure it out with logic and willpower, because that's how
Yes.
I've lived my whole life.
Yes.
Logic and willpower were like gods in my non-existent religion when I was growing up, as a kid. Like, if it's not scientific and it can't be like you can't think your way to it, then it's probably not even worth delving into. Um, those are kinds of things that I learned, and it's interesting. I listen to my my parents now, or my dad, and some of the stuff he says, I'm like, oh wow, I've not heard you ever say that before until now. Like I'm not, I now am making new meanings out of what he's saying, and I'm like, you've probably been telling me these things for a long, long time, and I'm just now being conscious of what you're actually telling me. Um, and I'm like, wow, that's what I was programmed with.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was trying so hard for a long time to just think my way out of it. And that's actually what I've learned is one way that people stay stuck is they try to not do the automatic behavior. They're like, today I'm not going to uh, get scared. Today I'm going to be confident. Or like today at this meeting, and sometimes it happens. I think willpower actually is pretty powerful. We can uh, I think it gives us that oomph to get moving. It's like that healthy stress, right? The healthy stress that helps us get out of bed, or to go ask that person out on a date, or like to go for that job or something like that, right? Um, but yeah, but it's
Yeah.
like it has a limited battery, as I call it. It's like uh, it's not always accessible to us because at some point it's going to run out of battery. It needs to recharge.
Yeah.
And then what are you left with? I mean, I guess you just go back to your old patterns.
Yeah, and I think that's what we do.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, the programming from our childhood and all the beliefs that we have. And then nowadays we have social media that
Oh,
makes
right.
it so easy to slip out of authenticity. Like we start comparing ourselves to other people, and it's easy to forget that what we see online isn't real. It's like that
Especially now.
curated, filtered version, and then we just start comparing ourselves to, how other people look, how they live their lives, how much money that they say that they're making,
Right.
how
Right.
successful they are, all the things. And then we start feeling really crappy about ourselves. I think social media trains us to perform instead of be.
Yeah.
It can make us think that we have to look or sound a certain way to be successful, whatever that may be.
Yeah. Well, even before social media, I believe in society that's just kind of been a thing, right? Like there's even idioms for it, right? Like keeping up with the Joneses, or like I don't know, right? There's always kind of been that like I need to be, and even I was taught this as a kid. This is something I'm actually actively working on rewiring through the tools that I use. Is like I was just taught that I needed to be a part of society. Like it was really important for me that how society viewed me was at the very least neutral. Like negative is really bad. Ideally, it would be positively, as in like people look at me and go, oh yeah, she has her shit together. She's got a good job, she's making money, she has a family, like she looks presentable, like she has a house, blah blah blah. Like that was just crammed into me like for as long as I can remember. Um, and basically, also like family secrets, whatever, just being like, never tell anyone about this because if they ever find out, then like they're gonna have a bad outlook on him or her, whatever, right? It's like, wow, okay. So I can't trust anyone, but I have to basically just look presentable to everyone. So I think somewhere along the line we passed down these beliefs through the generations of and maybe it started with just being a part of the tribe, because being outcast from the tribe meant death.
Yeah.
So some compassion there, I guess. Like we're no longer in tribal culture.
Yeah. Thank
um,
goodness. Yeah.
well, society-wise, of course, there are still tribes, but like, yeah, if you're alone now, you can actually survive and not, although, you still need community, right? Um,
Yeah,
I
you
guess
do,
you could
but
just be a hermit.
I do think it's easier now to find your people. So
Yeah.
if you're a little unique in the beliefs that you have or things that you enjoy doing, there are people out there that are just as unique as you are. So I think it's easy. One of the good things I think about social media and the internet is finding your people, finding your tribe.
Mm,
Yeah. Yeah.
very cool. Well,
So,
the other thing, oh, sorry. I
oh,
was
go
just
ahead.
gonna share that the other thing about authenticity for me, besides the limitless factor, is the wholeness factor. Um, and that comes with like the consciousness evolution piece to me. Because the things that we've been talking about, like for example, comparison on social media or comparison in general, it doesn't matter if you're not on social media. Um, these these same behaviors that maybe we see as holding us back or being our blocks or being maybe bad, they're actually a different side of the same coin. Like um, these same behaviors of like, let's say comparison can become doorways to our authenticity and our wholeness and our acceptance, like our self-acceptance. It's it's actually it's a perception that it's a block. Like that's one of the things that I guess has been an aha for me in the last few years is I used to kind of look at them as something that I need to get rid of or dissolve or like delete, but now I'm like using them as doorways to what I actually want. Um,
Yeah.
so that's been a big
Yeah.
so now instead of being like I don't know, it's like I get excited whenever I meet people who rub me the wrong way or that trigger me or I say I'm not like that. Those people. I'm not like that. Whenever I hear myself saying that, I'm like, oh, there's a big opportunity there because basically by rejecting somehow that behavior or feeling or whatever they're doing, I'm somewhat rejecting that within myself. So I can't really have compassion for those people. And in some way, I'm not really compassionate towards myself in that regard. Because
Yeah.
as a human being, I do have the capacity to be that way. So,
Well, it's that awareness again, as we're moving from this autopilot to awareness,
yeah,
that awareness that what we see is, a part of us. It's a reflection, it's a mirror. And so
right,
just to have that awareness of like, oh man, that's in me too. That's part of
right,
me too.
right,
It's just, I don't know, I just think that that's part of us growing and becoming whole, as you're saying.
right.
Mhm. Yeah. What I have to say that I love about being authentic is that it's so freeing. Like you
Yeah,
just stop wasting energy, on the shit that doesn't matter for you. That you don't have to pretend, you don't have to perform. You can just live life how you want to live life. I think it's like matching your outer self, your outer world with your inner truth. Like what you say, you do, and what you create all come from the same place. It's once again, you're in alignment.
yeah. That's a good point. Kind of goes with
Mhm.
that limitlessness.
Limitlessness. Yeah. Yeah. So, as we're talking about these pieces of us, how could, I guess we should start first with what is core transformation?
Yeah. So as you kind of mentioned earlier, so it's a gentle process that's also quite powerful, even though gentle. But it's a reliable way for us to transform some of these thoughts that we have, limiting beliefs, or feelings that we might want to change, or also habits that we have that we kind of just do on autopilot. So it's a process of working with different aspects of ourselves or different parts, you might say. A lot of us use the parts language in our everyday talk and we just don't realize it. Like we'll say, you know, for example, I get invited to a party or something and I say, "Oh, Renee, a part of me wants to go and another part of me just wants to lay on the couch with my dog." Or like a part of me wants to say yes to this opportunity, but another part of me is kind of concerned or scared of what might happen, right?
Yeah.
And so we begin to have these kind of internal conflicts in a way that are really tough to get resolved, especially like when the multiple parts, there's usually at least two parts to everything. You know, you don't have to work with all of them, but like there's usually, if there's a strong polarity of like yes and no, it can be really tough to make a decision, and you could feel really torn. And so this process is kind of a way to acknowledge these parts so that we can learn why they're even there to begin with like what's the intention of, you know, you having the yes feeling, what's the intention behind the no feeling. And basically when we work with them, we ask them what they want, and that's how we learn why they're there. And then we just kind of keep digging deeper. So, okay, so when you have this, what you want, you know, what do you want that's even deeper? And we just keep asking that question. And, you know, eventually what we get to with every single part reliably is a state of being, which is quite fascinating. These states of being are, they can be something just like being, or it can be like, I think I did the process with you, and yours was peace. Uh,
Mhm.
you know, sometimes it's like unconditional love or connection to source is a big one for me. So it just feels like, and it's a feeling usually you can actually like experience this. It's not a mental concept that you get to, but it usually feels like an expansive experience where you can kind of see from many different perspectives, hold many different ideas at once. Um, and it's just a feeling of being okay. Like there's really nothing else that you need to have or do. You've gone beyond having and doing. And
Yeah. Moving from having and doing to being.
yeah, and
Yes.
it's not something that we force. It just naturally comes up as a result of this process.
Yeah.
Um,
And
it's
what I often hear people say is that they don't know who they are. And I think this is especially true right now with all the change that we've gone through this year. Who we are today isn't who we were a year ago. It is even who we were last week.
yeah.
And I think staying authentic means allowing ourselves to keep changing and showing up differently. Like we don't have to be who we were when we're 20. I hear
Yeah.
that a lot with my girlfriends, well, when I was 20, my body looked like da 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 da. It's like, well, we're not 20 anymore. We're 60. When we're 60, our body looks like this. So when I had my session with you, what I think I loved the most is that I knew myself better afterward. We
Mm,
started off by talking about me having more fun in my life.
yeah.
Simple topic, and then what came up was that when I was, as we went deeper, like you said, we're going deeper and deeper. What came up is that when I was younger, I had a really, really free and fun life. And
Yeah.
then my husband died, and I had to become responsible, responsible for the bills and the kids and the home. And then that responsibility even increased when I had my mortgage company and the responsibility of the employees and payroll and all that. But what I realized as we went through this process, thanks to you, was that what I really wanted was peace and
Mm,
not feeling like I needed to be so responsible anymore.
yeah.
And just knowing that about me was so freeing. I just knew myself so much better. And I imagine that's what most people experience is just knowing themselves so much better.
That's a good point. Well, yeah, and for you, it was knowing yourself better. Absolutely, because then you're like, why, why is this even a topic in my life, right? Like, why is this even coming up for me? Um, what does this part want to express that wants to have more fun, right?
Yep.
Um, and it turns out that this piece was already deep within you. It's always been within you. And the process just helps you reconnect with it. It's not something that you went outside to find. You're like, okay, where's the box that's in a different universe that has peace that I can go get? No, this process just helps your parts reconnect with what's already true, capital T true for them, you know? Um, and that those states of being, as I mentioned, they're expansive. They help you see from different perspectives. Um, we're talking about this in a logical way. This is actually like a very experiential thing. Uh,
Yeah, it is. Yes.
but like when you experience it, what happens is you have a subconscious shift in perception. And that is what reality is. Reality is perception. And so it's kind of like in your subconscious mind, if you were to have glasses, I don't know, sunglasses, right, or something, and before you had lenses that were blue, so everything that you saw was blue. Um, now you've changed the lenses. So now, and the lenses are actually multicolored now that I think about it. It's not just a different color. It's you can see from many different perspectives. So basically, like let's say that we work with something like, I mean, I can bring up my old example that I just mentioned recently about feeling like I don't have any value to offer in the world, right? So I believe my core state for the part that kept expressing this, and I expressed it in different ways. I actually worked through this for multiple months. This wasn't like a one session thing. It expressed it in comparing myself to other people, like, oh, I could never be like that coach, or they're so they have people flocking to them. Like that's not me. Every time, that's not me. Or oh gosh, they speak so eloquently. Like I could never, I don't have things to say. I don't have things to share. Anyway, whatever. I just took an inventory of all those little thoughts I was having or behaviors I was doing, feelings I was having, and I don't remember which one this was that I worked with, but a lot of them were they wanted belonging at the core. And it wasn't belonging like it's funny because we were talking about belonging in society, right? But it wasn't like belonging in society. Actually, this part could care less about other people. It was more about belonging as a soul. Um, and the image I got, I guess you could say, was it was like a sea of endless stars, and I was one of the stars, and the sea of stars was like a beautiful painting that was endless. But if you were to remove me, then there would be an empty space in that painting, and it would be incomplete. So it's like um, whenever you experience something like that, it's really hard for you to have this idea that you don't belong anymore, or that there's nothing of value that you have to offer because um, and I'm not better than any of the other stars. Do you know what I mean? Like, I, I'm here, and there's like billions of others, but I'm not. There's no hierarchy, and there's no comparison, because I just am. I'm a part of it, and I'm different. I'm a part of it. I'm part of the whole, and I'm also separate.
Well, I completely understand. We're talking about some really big spiritual concepts here,
Yeah,
about the belonging, just belonging to your soul. And I think when we're younger, we look outside of ourselves for, whatever we think it is going to make us happy. The
yeah,
home, the guy, the retirement, the whatever it may be. And we're always looking out there. And I think as we are more authentic, we start recognizing that all of that comes from here. And I
mm,
already am those things. Yeah, maybe I have some beliefs that are clouding the shit up,
yeah,
that I could get
yeah,
rid of, come to you and get rid of, but we already are those things. Which kind of leads me into this idea of imposter syndrome.
yeah,
That is a big thing in our society, especially I think people that have their own business.
yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about how this core transformation can help people, maybe overcome imposter syndrome or understand it?
Yeah, there's a couple of things in imposter syndrome. That comes to mind. One is a very practical, logical side of it. People say like confidence comes with what is it? Confidence comes with competence, right? So like the more you practice something, the more you basically just throw yourself to the wolves. The more confident you'll get, and the imposter syndrome will disappear. You just have to like keep going. And again, that perspective, yes, I partly agree. If, let's take me for example. I used to be an accountant. That's what I did for my entire career. I went to master's, got my accounting degree. That's all I did. And then I left the accounting firm, went into coaching. I had to restart my career. I didn't have a coaching background. I mean, sure, I talked to people, but like I didn't know how to coach people. I had to learn a whole new set of skills. It was really tough on myself because I was like, oh, my first year, I'm going to make six figures. Because everyone out in the, internet world is like, oh, it's super easy. You just start a coaching business and all these people flock to you. No, actually. Well, maybe, I don't know, whatever. But it wasn't the case for me and for a lot of people. So I had to learn a whole new set of skills. I felt a lot of imposter syndrome because I felt like I wasn't ready. And partly that was because I didn't have the skills. Like partly I needed to actually learn the skills and take the time to I spent I spent 5 years in school learning accounting and taxes, and then I spent 3, 4 years being like a staff in an accounting firm just trying to get my bearings and figure out, okay, how do you actually put this into practice? Because the school doesn't always teach you that. So it took me like what, 5, 8 years to feel okay there. Why would I expect myself to feel like I'm a pro in year one of my brand new career? You can't compare, right? So anyway, so part of it is the skill, okay? Because I do believe that if um, if you do need new skills in order to restart or whatever, do the education, do the practice. If no one's paying you, do a bunch of free sessions. Like get the confidence you need. And there comes a time when you've done all the things, you've already had the certifications, you've done a bunch of, you know, sessions, whatever, and you still feel like a fraud. That's when I think it's really worth to look at those beliefs and the feelings that come with them. So like imposter syndrome, okay, so what kinds of feelings and thoughts come with that? Like from your experience with clients or what do you mostly hear people expressing?
I would say that they're not good enough.
Okay.
That they're we're talking about comparing themselves to other people.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and also I'm going to say the fear of being judged.
Right.
People might think I don't know what I'm talking about. Who am I to do this?
That's a very good point. Yeah. So basically with, core transformation, what we would do is I would ask the client, so okay, so tell me what gives you the sense that you have this imposter syndrome, right? What happens in your everyday life? I don't need to know like the deeper layer, like why you think you have it. I just want to know what happens in your everyday life. So they might say something like, well, when I get an email from my favorite coach, I read it and I go, oh, they write so well. I couldn't write like that, right? Or I don't know. What else could they say? Like it's like every time I want to speak up somewhere, right? Like let's say I'm in a circle, I want to share something. I get this like, I get this like twisted feeling inside my gut, first of all. I don't know what it is. It's nervousness or fear or whatever. And then I just hear this little voice that's like, you don't have anything to share. Like they're gonna think you're dumb, or like they're gonna think that's
Yeah, yeah.
so basically we just take these little inner dialogue or this, twisting gut feeling or the thought that you have enter, and we treat them as parts of you. So it's as if some part of you generated it. Because I know that it's a part of you, because it's not all of you that's doing that. Because the fact that you're here, client, to you, that means there's a part of you that wants this to change. So I know that this is not all of you that's doing this behavior. It's probably afterwards you're like, God, I wish I didn't do that, right?
Right.
So if there's part of you that wants things to change, you know that it's not all of you that's doing something. So that's the first kind of recognition. And the second piece of recognition is that all of our parts that generate these thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, all of them, they all have a positive purpose. So
Mhm.
there's a positive purpose for why you might say to yourself, oh, you can't be like that, or it doesn't feel
Yeah.
very positive surface level, but there is a positive reason why that's happening. So,
Yeah, that's so true because we often think, like, why can't I do da 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 da? And then the positivity is like, well, maybe your ego's protecting you from being
Yeah,
judged, from hurting you, from you being hurt
right.
from whatever it may be. I mean, there's limitless things. I know this is
Yeah.
your work. I know there's limitless things that you could talk
Oh,
about. Yeah.
no, absolutely.
But
Well,
just
and we
the
were,
I, but just the idea that these are all positive and helping us just shifts that to versus fucking piece of me. I hate that part of me.
well, and
Like
by the way, if you have that, oh, I hate that part of me, that's okay too. Because guess what? That part has a positive purpose. Don't set it aside, bring it in.
yeah, and really good point because that's a part of us. And if we're being authentic, we need to love all the parts of us,
Yes.
have all the parts show up, not just be the positive all the time and you got all this negative stuff over here. Negative part is part of you too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Well, and only negative on the surface.
on the surface. Yeah,
Um,
totally. Because underneath it has value. Yes.
I just got some goosebumps and chills, but we were talking about childhood earlier, and another way to look at this is like, I mean, this is kind of interesting of a thought, but imagine as if you pretty much have a bunch of scared children inside, like in your psyche, and they're just
Yes.
like unsure, they're unconfident, and they're still operating from that like 3-year-old mindset of like, oh God, don't want mom and dad to yell at me, so I'm just going to stay quiet. It might sound silly, however, that's how our psyche operates. So it's not until we address these parts of us, and basically, you don't have to love them. There's nothing you have to do right away. You can just say, "Hey, okay, so thank you for being here." And I'm not saying thank you for being here because I'm saying thank you for the behavior of comparing yourself to Sharon or whatever. Like, um, what I'm thanking you for is for showing up. Thank you for letting yourself be known. I see you. That's it. Okay. And there's this gratitude. Thank you for your response. Thank you for being here. That's repeated throughout the whole process. And so the more and more you do this, the more you acknowledge these parts, first of all, thank them for being there and thank them for communicating with you. That's an automatic self-love and self-compassion builder. There's nothing else you have to do because eventually your brain, your subconscious mind is going to get it. Like, oh, no, I've worked with 10 parts now. They all had positive purposes. They all had these core states of being. I it's an automatic self-love builder that you
Mm,
don't have to tell yourself you love yourself because your system will just eventually get the message because you're treating yourself with kindness and respect instead of
yeah.
saying, I don't like you, go away. I'm going to push you away. Because that thing you're pushing away is actually the doorway to your transformation. The
Yeah.
obstacle is the solution.
I get it. I totally get it. Yep. I don't think that we can talk about authenticity without talking about really our intuition.
Okay.
Because our intuition, again, a part of us, a big part of us. And if we're not following it and we're ignoring it, we're out of alignment and we just
Yeah.
aren't being real and true to ourselves. And I think a lot of people don't listen to that little voice that's saying, this doesn't feel right or really don't want to do this. But that
Mm,
is your soul, like trying to get your attention. Hey, hey, we have
yeah.
good value and good information here. Could you just pay attention to us? So I think that incorporating our intuition and maybe also our psychic abilities, our connection with different spirits. All of these things are an important part of being who we truly are as a soul. So I
Yes.
think there's the human version of authenticity, the soul version of authenticity,
Oh,
and then
good point.
those merging so that we are one authentic being. Because I hear a lot, like, I don't want people to know I'm woo-woo
Right,
or
right.
I don't want my woo-woo to come out. I'm sorry, but that's part of who you are. So if that's not coming out and you're not being your authentic self, you're not being authentic.
It's coming out somewhere, right?
It's
It's
coming
maybe
out
coming out as a
somewhere.
rash on your face or something like
Yeah,
if you're
yeah, good
trying to
point.
trap it in or something.
Or
Um,
unhappiness because you're not relating to the friends that you have around you because they're just not like you. Or
that's true.
I don't know, a bazillion different ways. So,
Manifesting in some way. That's a
yeah.
great point about intuition. Something that came to me as you were talking was like, how do you access more of your intuition? And what is your intuition? Because could it be, I mean, I'd be interested to hear from you because you work with it a lot. So like, are you opening yourself up to like the information highway and to spirit and to messages from your spirit guides? Like when you get that little voice, is it always like what is intuition?
Well, that's a complicated question, but I'm going to put it as simple as possible. There is all of this knowledge that is out there that we have access to. Now, we
Yeah,
could call it our intuition, we could call it our spirit guides talking to us, or God talking to us, or the universe, whatever it may be. It doesn't really matter. It's all the same stuff. So it
yeah,
doesn't matter
okay.
if it's coming from you or the tree talking to you. It doesn't matter. It's the same information.
That makes sense
So
because spiritually, right, there is no separation between
there's no
us and every all
separation.
that is, right? So that makes
Yeah.
total sense. So it's like the connection.
It's the
So
connection. Yeah.
so then in that case, right, um, what prevents us from having that connection and how do we regain more of it? To me, it's like, my spiritual teacher always harps on meditation. She's like, sit in silence, because I mean, that's how you over time get more connected to messages and things like that. You don't receive tip. I mean, you can receive messages whenever. However, if you're so busy going about your day on autopilot, like, oh, always got to be listening to something in my headphones, or like your human body is being flooded with stimuli,
Yes.
then it's
Yes.
hard to pay attention to the messages, right?
It
Especially if
is.
you're paying attention to other messages.
It is. It is very hard. If you're on autopilot, you're not present.
Right.
And tapping into this connection, you have to be present. And
Right.
so that takes practice. It takes practice. It could be meditation. It could just be sitting with your morning coffee, watching the sunrise and not on your phone,
True.
but it takes some effort to practice being present. I have to say, I kind of love the whole theme of this. We did not come up with this. This is all organic of the autopilot to awareness.
Yeah, maybe that's what you can call it.
I know that. I think that's a good title. I think I might call it that.
But I was going to share that with core transformation. So what happens is all these parts, right, they reach the core state of being. Um, People experience these core states of being differently. Like sometimes, I'll just speak for myself. I experience it kind of like it feels like a very deep meditative state. Sometimes this sounds weird maybe, but it feels like I have like my body is 100 times the size of what it actually is. Like my hands are like the size of my house or something. I don't know. It's very strange. Sometimes they're more ecstatic. It feels like an outpouring of energy. Anyway, it's definitely a state of being. And what happens is over time, if you work with a lot of these parts, because clients ask me all the time, like, oh my gosh, that whatever they say, unconditional love, wow, like incredible state. I feel it now, even when as we leave the session, and they're like, wait a minute, but how am I going to keep this? Like, how do I just recall this, or like, how do I how do I make sure this doesn't go away, basically? And my reply is that if pay attention, notice any shifts, and if you get the sense that you're not able to access it, ask yourself why you're not able to access it. As in, like, what's happening right now that I'm not able to access unconditional love? Is it a thought that says you're not good enough or whatever? Write it down because that's another part that has a positive purpose. And the more parts of these that we work with, and they reach enough of these core states, eventually you do not need to try. Eh, these core states are teaching your subconscious mind to have that state of being in an ongoing way, or they're teaching your subconscious mind that it's possible to have this in an ongoing way, something you can connect with really easily. It's like brain training. It doesn't happen in one session, but like eventually you don't need to try to get a core state. You just
Yeah.
become it.
Well, and I think that's a great place to end because, authenticity is just being you.
Yeah.
It's being who you truly are. So, wow, what a great conversation. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. That was so much fun.
Very fun. Now, if you would like to work with Alina, she is offering Abundology podcast listeners a discount of 20% off your first session. So you just go to her website. I will put a link in the show notes to her website and just book a discovery call. And then when you're talking with her, just mention the podcast and you get that discount. You also have a Subconscious Success Sunday newsletter. Say that 3 times fast, huh? And when you sign up for that, you get a free gift. And she also has a free core transformation book that you can find on her website too. I'll put links to all of that stuff in the show notes. So
Yeah.
I do once again want to thank you for the fabulous conversation and being here. And yeah,
Thank you
yes.
so much. I had a blast.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you again next time.